as an insight into the industry that we all yearn for, Mr. Dr. Ahmed Riadh Rebai, who has been an exponential person in the industry of data and AI itself. He has been a resounding strategist and has been working as a PMO in multiple of the organization. He provides consultancy as well and has been very insightful talking to him previously in our other engagements as well. And a little word from Dr. Ahmed Rebai as to how he's looking forward to having the webinar itself. Doctor, would you like to add a few words?
Hello, can you hear me, Fahad?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much for having me today webinar. I'm looking forward to insightful discussion, and I am really thankful for your invitation, and I'm very enthusiastic to and looking forward to a successful webinar session. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Moving forward, let's set the stage for as to how our agenda is going to be looking like for today. So we are going to start with having a little bit of understanding as to what the need for reimagining data strategy is. And I believe we all are on the same page that given there are so many changes coming in, specifically in the sector of AI, data has to be seen from that lens and that perspective. And all along what we've been working on for data, strategizing it and keeping it in proper place has to be shifted a little bit so we can align our AI use cases along with the data strategy and then move towards the business objectives, which are the paramount and the last resort that we all want to move to. Then we're going to have a specific session, a fireside chat with Dr. Ahmed, and see what insights he has to provide on the same topic. Then we're going to be discussing about motivations in shape of challenges and their mitigation methodologies. So this is going to be specific to how AI and data are actually working together. And before we jump to seeing the practical steps for having a data strategy in place, we have to realize what challenges we have to take care of when we are actually creating the data strategy roadmap. And obviously the floor is open for questions, and definitely pose anything that you have in mind. We'll be taking it all together and at the end as well. At the end, we're going to be discussing a simple AI and data strategy use case as well. You have to be there for that as well because it's very insightful. Now, moving ahead, first and foremost, why are we here? I believe we've gathered here to make sure that we avoid specifically what we see on our screen. Back in 2023, November 6th, there was a report that Gartner published. And one of the report that Gartner published had an article written from Barcelona, Spain. And it says that Gartner predicts that by 2025, Gen AI will be workforce partner for 90% of the companies worldwide. Great news. Everybody was on the bandwagon. Everybody wanted to move with the new AI technology, specifically Gen AI. And how did it end up after a year, just a year? So in 2024, July 20th, there was another report that was published by Gartner, and there was an article written on top of it, which says at least 30% of generative AI projects will be abandoned, usually because there is no proof of concept at the end of 2025 due to poor data quality, inadequate risk controls, and escalating costs. And we want to focus on these three things. So we do not actually want to be in that cater where we are in those 30% of those companies that have lost the opportunity to get on Gen AI because the data wasn't up to the mark, because their strategy was not mapping back to their cost estimates. It was not mapping back exactly to what the business objectives were, and they were abandoned. There was loss of honor, there was loss of work, there was loss of efforts and costs at the end as well. So exactly that's what we are here to avoid. And just to keep it a little bit on the lighter note, this picture depicts very finely as to what we do not want to do. We don't want to skip to the final part. We'll talk about one of the cases that we have seen just recently. A company that we were talking to, one of our esteemed clients now, and they were asking about Copilot and analytical dashboards on the sales side, while they did not have a lot of knowledge about the data touchpoints. Even though they came to us and extended their ask for the assist on the side of dashboarding and analytics, but instead, when we talk to them about what data touchpoints do you have, do you even know what data journey, complete data journey? So we would be getting the information that we need in order to show you on the dashboard, because decisions have to be made based on certain KPIs and the understandings that you get. and we did not get a reply on that we were expecting. So data residing in silos, no cross communication between marketing and sales data, and we were asked to make reports on a data that was not connected together. And in the end, it was not a surprise for us that to have a clear use case, we ended up having to discuss the data strategy first and then to move towards any kind of dashboarding or analytics. But if we miss the data strategy part, the data engineering part, BI analytics, and get very excited about machine learning and Gen AI, then we're going to be, God forbid, falling in those 30% of what Gartner has predicted the companies actually move to. So what exactly is the AI enablement roadmap and why we are talking about data strategy when we have to talk about AI? There is a roadmap, a clear one that we start with around 7 steps that we have to go through. This is a maturity graph that you see on the screen right now. Starting first most point is to have a data foundation. Move from there to getting connected. Move from there to have data visualization. Now, these three parts go in hand. After you've seen the data silos, after you've seen where the data could be connected from, you put it into a place where it's all in a centralized repository. Then you make a master context on top of it. And then and only then you use that golden context to have the dashboards and analytics on top of it for decision making. Because bad data in is bad data out. And bad data out means bad analytics, bad decision making, which is contrary to what we're trying to achieve. Afterwards, we have the advanced analytics, understanding the causes and impacts. Then we move towards the AI models. And specifically, if we have to move towards the AI models, we have to have those use cases before we start making the data foundation, because we have to keep the data for both the use cases. Instead of having the data just for reporting, which is different from using it in AI models, we have to cater to both. And definitely once we get to that, we are in the green zone, which is the digital feedback loop, automation, which means that the models that we have put in, the information that they give out can be used back into the model to give you a better accuracy rate, better confidence percentage. And afterwards, the last step is to have cognitive, intelligent, connected products, things, machines working seamlessly better than humans can actually do. Touching on that, let's move a little bit towards what does data strategy actually look like. So what you see on your screen right now are some of the salient points that can be actually covered in data strategy. Some of the common examples are like full data strategy, like how do we structure a data vision, use cases, operational roadmap to deliver against their business strategy, organizational structure and operating model, like how is the data team structured within the organization? How do we actually encourage better collaboration between business and data teams? Then there's data program delivery. How do we set up a data office team to execute against our data vision or goals? Data maturity assessment. How mature is each of our data capabilities? And this assessment is paramount before we even begin anything to do with the data. What we do with our esteemed clients, one of the best opportunity that we give them is to have their whole data asset assessed before they can actually begin, so that they have clear vision of what they're talking about and how it's going to be going. Then there's data governance strategy, because the main question that comes when we try to solve the business use cases is that there is so much data that putting a finger on a part of it becomes a little bit hard when it gets to the stage where we're trying to build a central repository. And the question that arises is that how can data governance increase data reliability, accessibility, or transparency of the organization's data and data tooling? Then there's data solution and product development, because at the end, what we're gathering the data for is to have a product in hand which can be put out in the market or in the marketplace. Now, what is the business use case for prioritized data solution products? What are the data, technology, people, and process requirements to get it built? These are the questions that data strategy combined with the AI insight into it answer for us. Then there is data tech architecture, which comes at the end. Usually, sometimes what happens is people start developing from the bottom to the top. Instead, go top bottom. Do not talk about the tools. Do not talk about the technology that you're going to be using. First and foremost, assess what business objectives you're trying to reach, and then move towards what tools can help you to get you that state. Then lastly, there is data asset approach and enterprise architecture, which is how is the data and tech set up within the organization to feed into the use case and data solutions. And what exactly is the optimal approach to managing your data across the organization's main systems or the tools that you've been using. So unlike the most data domains, data strategy is not highly technical coding and about building SQL or Python solutions. It is actually about dealing with the ambiguous and unsolvable and confusing elements, which can be worked through if done through the right way, and what we will be discussing in a little bit as well. Moving ahead, coming to the most exciting part of the whole webinar, which is to have the fireside chat with Dr. Rebai. I would just like to reiterate that Dr. Ahmed is a distinguished technology leader and strategist with an exceptional background in IT and over 22 years of experience in research and development, consultancy, and strategic planning. He's been working with smart cities, IoT, machine learning, AI, blockchain, big data, and the list could keep going on. And he has been in those. He definitely holds a PhD in computer and networks engineering from the University of Polytechnique from France, and also an MBA from Robert J. Trulesky College of Business, Missouri University from the USA. And his expertise reflected in his numerous public speaking engagements, white paper publications, strategy formulation, which will be shared with you at the end of the talk as well, so you can have a deep dive into all the reformations that he has brought to the whole field. So, Dr. Rebai, over to you. Let's talk a little bit about your AI and data journey at the various places that you have your collaboration at, and what exactly are the challenges and the goals for taking your organization to the next level?
Thank you again, Syed Fahad, for having me for this in this webinar. I'm so excited to talk about this subject. It's it's fascinating. It's our daily dishes as technologists, and we are all debating, trying to understand what are the challenges, how to overcome those challenges, and how to build the best solutions to our enterprises. And I will start from micro level, from a digital transformation journey, where most of the time people, they think, and you have mentioned this, some of them, they look at it as a bottom up. It's coming from the ground, and then we can reach it to reach a good somehow kind of a roadmap. And some of the people that they think it's top-down approach. It's coming from a vision, clear vision, a mission, and we can split it in some technical roadmap at a later stage. So, and then when we have clarity on the digital transformation and how are we going to implement certain solution or technological solution that have an impact on a certain enterprise or a certain department within the enterprise, we struggle on having a clear response to certain questions. So the first one, how do you describe digital transformation? What does mean digital transformation for you? So most of people, they think it's about digital, and they forget about the transformation, about the business transformation, about business re-engineering, and how we can do that. What are the engine for that is the data. What type of data? From where is collected this data? The acquisition of this data, where this data is residing, the storage, how to access to this data, who can access to this data. So those type of questions, they came to the table, and we're starting debating, all of us. And we know that as per Gartner last report, beginning of 24, so they mentioned that 72% of the organization, they identify data as the key challenge in scaling any machine learning, any AI use cases. So this is the bottleneck of any future, as you mentioned, analytics, machine learning. And I like the first slides that you put. This explains exactly the misunderstanding of many technologists and also stakeholders in the enterprise. I have been working in multiple in education, R&D, in innovation, in telco, manufacturing, tourism, in many industries, and I can assure you that it is the same challenge that we are facing every time we are talking about a smart solution, let's say, or how to automate certain processes, is about the data. So data management and is part of the infrastructure as well. So how we are going to have those data sources, how the data acquisition is done, what is the storage, how we are processing our solutions. So the ETL, if there is an ETL that needs to be done to transform those data and to clean those data, to make the lineage between the data and create our own data catalog inside the enterprise, was the main question. I will focus on my past experience within two industries. One with the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, when we create a platform for crowd management and transportation management during the FIFA World Cup. And we sync data from all over the country so that we can create a crowd source solution for crowd management during the mega event. And we have the same question. So how the data are collected, what is the quality of the data, how the data are connected between the systems, and how they are split, how they are reconnected after that. So without understanding of the quality of the data, of the what means those tables inside those database, what type of data that we have, it is structured and structured. So all of these are questions that can help us to, they led us that we reach a consensus on we need a clear AI. Before going to the AI journey, we need a clear data strategy. So we need the data governance, who can access what, and also data privacy, data quality, curation, transformation of the data. So all those questions were around, and they were the mega or the big challenge that we faced on at that time. With Ajgal, also, we had multiple systems. They are residing on-prem. They are in multiple cloud vendor as well, in many with many vendors. So, and we have the same question. So, how to integrate the data analytics part, and how to build insights and to build some useful solution to the industry. While connecting between the dots between those data, understanding those data, governing the data, and making the right classification, privacy, also. So preparing those data to make successful implementation at a later stage. So this is the, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting that you talked about getting involved in strategizing the data for FIFA itself. So this is a perfect example for us that every new thing is going to come up with its own business objectives, and it's going to come with its own challenges. Would you like to share a specific use case in the AI? For example, when you say crowd management, so definitely you have created certain pools for the people to be in at, or, like for the after parties or before the match itself, like people are gathering around. And when the match is about to start, a lot of people are coming in from the same route. Probably you're using the cameras, city cameras, in order to capture. Can you tell us a little bit about how you designed the KPIs, or like picked up the business use cases? This is what the decision makers should be looking at, and then moved from there to creating the technology part of it.
Yes, I will mention just two points here I want to emphasize, and thank you for this question. So it's I miss emphasizing on 2 points, and they were part of this journey during the World Cup, which is the data quality and explainability. So how we understand this data, and also the security and privacy part of the data, also, which is part of the data governance as well. and the data strategy if we don't have a clear data strategy. I cannot really go to details of some certain use cases because they were done in the NCC, in the National Command Center, with Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Interior. So we use data that is coming from Uber, from Carwa, from airport, from hotels, from everything. And then we are trying to understand the flow of people or the crowd, how they are going to move inside the city in the different place, in the different fun zone, and to predict where we will have a bottleneck in terms of transportation, in terms of metro access, in terms of people moving and the flow of people that they are moving in the ground, in the Corniche area, in certain around the stadium, etc. While using also the analytics and also camera input from camera, from all type of data that from as well from the metro, and one of the concerns that we had is that sometimes we have a poor quality of data, and we said the machine learning will not be able to generate the right insights or the right prediction because of a lot of hallucination. Or you are familiar with the hallucination when you are giving a garbage in, so we will have a really a very bad type of when we have a poor quality data, we will have really hallucination and the misconception. And what we have done when we come back to our data, the same data, and we curate it, we understand it, we create a data catalog for it, and we try to understand what the data is telling us, how they are captured, how they are acquired, and how they are linked to the other system, and how it is circulating between the other system. At that time, it becomes explainable, and we generate the features, or we create the features that helped us during the exploratory data analysis, we call it, so that it's a pre-phase to the machine learning and the analytics and predictive solutions, so that we were able to explain those data, understand them, and then act or use the right features out of those data to do the right prediction. So it was a journey. We learn and we keep learning. I have the hat of R&D, so I am saying always that this journey, it's we need to do it all together, all the stakeholders, all the technologists, all together. We need to understand first and to build our strategy, data strategy, data governance strategy, and then we can do the use case. We can build the use case around it. It will be even easy and obvious for us. The second point, and also why I mentioned about the stakeholder, because it puts the context or the context of the business on the side. The second point, which is the security and privacy. So once we understand the data, sometimes we need to do some classification, some understanding of what is private, what is not private, what can be shared, what cannot be shared, who can access those data. Even for the machine learning, is this a good data to be implemented within the machine learning? Is the AI have the right to access those data to do this type of prediction? So even the behavior, for example, on we have certain use case on the behavior of people while they are shopping in Qatar during the FIFA event. So at the same time, we were very cautious about what type of data we need to give it or to be consumed by the AI, so that we make sure that no private data or unclassified data that will be consumed by the AI, and it may generate a certain outcome that we don't like to see. So these are the 2 points that I want to cover in this context.
Thank you so much. We have a question that was pre-submitted by one of our attendee, and they are actually the question is very nice because it's summarizing whatever we've just talked about. They're asking, what are the key elements enterprises must prioritize when reimagining their data strategies to fully leverage AI? Like, if you could name like 3 things or whatever, how many like just elements that enterprise must prioritize when reimagining the data strategy?
We need to worry about the quality of the data. I think this is a very crucial point that we need to data quality while describing our data. This is the first step that we need to understand and describe our data. We need to create the data catalog, enterprise data catalog. This is very useful for our master data management later on. This one of the KPIs that needs to be as an input for our strategy. Also, let's say a classification or profiling, data profiling. We need to understand those data and to profile it to know how it transit between the different systems in our enterprise and classify it, what should be and what this data is meant for what. So this is the second KPIs that we need to maybe while we are profiling and mapping those data between the systems. So this will help us actually to create a knowledge kind of a graph. So a knowledge graph about our data, how our data is transiting on our system. The third point, maybe we need to measure is the data quality. So the data quality is a very it's a point that we need really to check so that we make sure later if we are having a good quality data, we know the lineage about the data, how it goes from where it was created with who, and we classify those data and we profile them. We are in a good shape to build our strategy and data or governance strategy.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, for your insightful discussion around that. I believe one thing that I take away from your discussion is first and foremost, people have to take care about data quality itself and then having the governance on top of it. So by the time they get to the final stage of having the implementation, they at least have the cataloging and the metadata ready so they understand what they've gathered so much for such a long time. And thank you so much for discussing the real-time example about your FIFA experience as well. It's always exciting. Those were exciting times for the whole country, for Qatar, and literally for the whole world. We had a great time, and thanks to professionals like you who managed it so well that we could do it such a successful event. Alhamdulillah. All right.
Thank
so
you.
with that, I would, if there are any further comments, Dr. Ahmed, or we can move ahead with our presentation.
No, just yeah, I have nothing to add. Just as you summarized it very well. This is what we need to look at our data. This is the first step to understand before planning anything. Just we have our master data management in place, and that we can understand what we have, so that what is our tools that we have between hand, so that we can create any insight, any predictive analytics, any machine learning solutions, anything, any prediction, so those one will come at a later stage. But this is the most crucial part, and that people, they always fail. They are rushing in, and you have mentioned in your slides that people, they are going to fail in their AI use cases because of the data. So if the data are not curated, well managed, so we cannot move. Thank you so much for having me today, and I will continue listening to your slides.
Of course, please. And if there are any questions to the viewers that are attending this, please feel free to chime in, and we are definitely happy to talk to you guys as well. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Now, building on the case that you've provided, and we can safely move towards the 8 prime reasons to develop an AI and data strategy. I think after what we've talked about, people don't need to listen again what could be more reasons to actually have data strategy. It should be pretty clear by now that before we have a data state in a perfect place, we cannot actually move to the AI use cases. It's just a recipe to fail very quick. But to have an overview, just like an incentive, what could be the reasons, we can safely conclude that our incentive to develop AI and data strategy revolves around these 8 concepts. So let's go a step ahead and see exactly what they are. First and foremost, data is the untapped resource. You have to have that full knowledge graph, as Dr. Ahmed also mentioned, to get wisdom out of the insights that you've already gathered. If you don't connect the points, you're not actually having a full picture, and that means that data is still in silos and it's not being used to its full potential. The second one is the common purpose across initiatives. So when the team and the organization comes together to move toward a certain goal, which could be, for example, to increase the acceptability of your product in the marketplace, it comes in without any problem that common purpose across initiative has to be taken care of. The third one is to anticipate the customer needs. Now, data strategy and first and foremost needed if you have to anticipate the customer needs. This means that you're rounding up wholeheartedly exactly what information you get. And if you want to know what the market is going to be needing from you in the further steps, then you have to be proactive about it. And having a data strategy in place which revolves around that makes a lot of sense. And the fourth one is to focus on the business goals, which is the operational efficiencies and innovation. Now, innovation is not going to happen if we do not have a pathway for that. So another synonym for strategy is to have a pathway. And that's how it goes. I believe we have a question, so I'm going to be taking that. So there's Mr. Sheikh Mahyuddin Maheen, who's asking if collecting and putting the data and data garbage in and out is a little bit SY journal. So throw some lights on how you achieve it that will be proper. I believe, Dr. Ahmed, would you like to take this? Like putting the data in, garbage in and garbage out is a little bit, exactly what intricate message do we get from this? What do we mean when we say that we are putting in bad data? So could you please shed some light exactly what it means to have bad data and how can we actually achieve having good data? Just quickly, because I'm going to be covering that in the recent slides as well, but I believe there's a good question that you could hop on to.
Very good question, and I will answer this in using examples. So when we are not going to, we take the bulk of data and we put it because we are not doing any transformation, any quality control, anything. So that, and we inject it to a machine learning or even, by the way, even not only for ML and AI workload, but also for analytics. And we're also for, if we create a data lake and we are trying to do some dashboarding for BI purposes and business intelligence purposes, and also to do some analytics, also the same thing that is generating a data that was not really clear and was not really insightful to the higher management. And when they mentioned why those dashboards were not really doing or the purpose of, or where they are not fulfilling the purpose, we discovered because of certain data they were missing, certain data they are not transformed, certain data they were not curated, and it generated those kind of dashboard and those kind of prediction for the future. So and then we come back at that time, we come back and we took we go back to our data and we solve the issue when we focus and we spend the right time with our data, so that we receive later on a good feedback on the dashboards from the management and also from the solution, the AI solution, so that they were provided was giving a good, no more hallucination, it's giving a good prediction.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense. And as I mentioned, one of the team clients that we were working with had the same issue. So when they asked for the analytical dashboards and some AI co-pilot involved in there to give them a little bit of on-time, real-time analytics, we did ask them about the data. And why we moved back to data strategy instead of having the dashboards for them is because, I'll give a specific example. They were talking about dashboards in the sales department, but sales had a lot of KPIs that were tied with marketing department. And those both of those data were in different repositories. So the marketing data wasn't getting reflected back into the sales, and there were certain reports that were not mixing as much as well. And we noticed that there was some data that was coming in as null from the marketing department, even if there was a little bit of communication between those two. So having the data in silos and having two different repositories, for example, even if HR has employee record, and then there is another department that has employee record as well. If those two are not in a single repository, those could have different records, and there could be duplication, there could be no harmonization between the data as well. And so you will be struggling between having the master context. So putting the bad data in would mean that you have to make choice between the same data but from different repositories. That's one example. And it could actually cause a lot of inference when it comes down to having the analytics on top of some certain numbers. All the reports should match, and that's our goal. So I hope, thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for shedding some light on that as well. I hope the person who actually asked the question got their answer for it. Now, moving ahead, we were on the fifth reason to develop the AI in data strategy is the data monetization and enabling the innovation. So before data monetization, now when we talk about data monetization, we're not actually talking about like selling data, obviously. We're talking about using the data to fuel the growth use cases in the business itself. And again, if we want to monetize the data in a way that is aligning with the product or the goal that we're talking about, could be customer information, it could be the anticipating customer need, as we talked about in point number 3. It could also be about having choices as to where you want to put a certain product in, or where exactly is the market lying, and all of that information is in the data. So before we start monetizing the data or having the innovation enabled on top of it, we need to have a strategy built up. Then there is promoting data sharing and collaboration in data story. So the client and the market is one thing, if you're trying to push a product or a service around, but internally as well, we have the employees, the whole team that's working together. They are our first client, because those are the people who are using our own data the best. And so to incorporate a data sharing practice and collaboration, as to if the marketing department is happily able to trust the data that is coming from the sales side, it actually speeds up the processes. And this means that there is more collaboration. So even if there are internal POCs that are going on, if you have a perfect strategy built in as to how certain data could be used in order to move to that, then that gives you a lot of speed up or incentivity in moving in the direction in a faster pace. Then there is focus on data quality. So I don't think I need to go very further into it, because as Dr. Ahmed also pronounced it very clearly, that data quality would be the top priority. And we just took a question for that as well, that whatever garbage we put in, it's going to come out. So deduplicated data, null checks put in, we have harmonization, then we have the master context, the golden context in place. That's the data that we want to use before we even move to the next step. And lastly, there is the strategic approach, as data transformation takes time. So the thing is, to develop the data strategy in the beginning of the project is to avoid going back to it at every stage of the project. So as Dr. Ahmed also just mentioned, that there was a point where there was a project going on and there was a little bit of mishap, and then they had to go back to see exactly what the cataloging was, exactly what the grocery was, and they had to go back to having the data cleaned up. So instead of doing that, we have to have a clear pathway in front of us at first, where we have the governance methodology put in, where we have the PII safety regulation put in, where we have exactly what the data fabric is going to look like before we move towards the implementation of the point. So that's exactly why strategy is super important. Now, let's go a little bit further and see the intricate challenges we need to always be mindful of while developing the data strategy. And this would be very AI centric. So we understand what data strategy means in the sense of AI use case, or the information that we need around that. Just quickly, we all know that AI is very rapidly expanding field with the potential to revolutionize the way we work, has the potential to transform a wide range of industries. Literally every industry that we see today is embedding AI, and I believe that's how it should be as well. So at the heart of this transformation is data, which are essential for training and testing the AI models. However, using AI data is challenging. Again, the data quality, quantity, diversity, and privacy are critical components of data-driven AI applications. And each of them present its own set of challenges, and we want to keep that in mind before we actually start building the data strategy. So let's take a look at them real quick. The dimensions, now we're going into specific ones as to what we mean by garbage in, garbage out, what we actually mean by data quality, what we mean by the challenge of data volume. Deep dive into these. We're going to be talking about the first four into a little bit more depth because they are very directly related with the AI and data itself. And first and foremost is going to be data quality, then data volume, data privacy and security, and then bias and fairness. Interpretability and explainability is very much towards a skew of AI itself, and the technical practices would follow it. But for the strategy part, the first four are very important. The data quality part. Now, AI thrives on high quality data that is accurate, complete, consistent, and timely and relevant. Those are the six pillars that the data has to stand on: accurate, complete, consistent, timely, and relevant. Poor data quality, it can lead to biased or unreliable outcomes. As Dr. Rebai was just mentioning, that there was some data that was not well defined, and the dashboard, the analytics that it was showing, they were actually misleading and weren't actually helping in a way that the stakeholders could rely on them. So data integrity ensures data remains reliable over its life cycle, and relevance guarantees that the data aligns with the task at hand. One of the other issue is to ensure the effective data governance, which is very essential as it addresses issues in data collection, pre-processing, and management. Three of those things. And fostering a data-driven culture and unlocking AI's potential for better decisions. These are the fourth pillars that are actually helping us to move towards a solution of these as to how we could be making data accurate, complete, consistent, and timely. We improve the data quality, and it starts with cleaning. Clean and simple. As Dr. Ahmed has also mentioned about the ETL processes, those are very important. Correcting errors and inconsistencies, techniques like data profiling, labeling, feature selection to ensure that the AI models are trained on high quality data. Methods like imputations, which fill the gaps in the missing data, while augmentation creates synthetic data when samples are limited. So if you have a use case that is very new, you cannot find any data sets on even on Kaggle or any kind of open source platform, you don't have that kind of baggage, we use augmentation to have synthetic data so that the confidence rate goes up. Then there is continuous monitoring and fairness checks and data lineage tracking, which is very crucial for maintaining the AI reliability over time. Moving ahead to data volume. Now, I believe data volume in today's era is the greatest compared to any time. Like even our personal phones are generating the amount of data that previously even big size computers weren't generating. So we are in an era of data deluge. And I think we all can accept it, where exponential data growth drives AI advancements, but also creates challenges. Storage, as Dr. Ahmed was mentioning the first time, that in strategy, storage is very important as well. Storage systems struggle to keep up, requiring newer technologies like non-volatile memory. And on the processing side, AI models need enormous power. Thanks to NVIDIA, they have actually stepped up the game for all the rest of the players in the market, and Microsoft has been on top of it and trying to get to the rise of the GPUs, TPUs, and techniques like model compression for efficiency. And managing this data means effective data cleaning and labeling. With methods like active learning, easing manual efforts, but we also face data integration issues, especially with varied formats and growing concerns around privacy and security as well. On one hand, large data set can still carry bias. It would not be without the challenge of having bias even in large data sets, impacting AI's fairness, and access may be restricted by legal constraints. Sometimes we have seen that when we're using the personally identifiable data or information, for example, the video footage that is coming from the city cameras, then Ministry of Information has certain policies as to how it can be used. And so we have to move in a very strict way to have the fairness and bias out of it, so we can get to the stage that we want to. The solutions to address this would be we can leverage advanced techniques like transfer learning, which uses pre-trained models to improve efficiency and reduce training data needs, or federated learning allows for collaborative training without sharing raw data, ensuring privacy and reducing data transfers in real time. And then there is edge computing, which processes data to the source. So a lot of time when the companies have an issue of having their data moved to the cloud, we do the edge computing for them. And when there is issue around latency as well, we do the edge computing. We have the Azure Edge Stack Edge for which can be employed for any kind of vision solutions that cut the latency and saves the bandwidth. While multi-dimensional learning uses multiple data types to enhance model performance and lessen dependency on large data sets. So all in all, having all these together, these methods can significantly optimize the application in real time. And these are the points that we have to keep in mind while we are strategizing on the basis of data and AI. Moving on, there's data privacy and security challenge. Now, AI brings incredible opportunities, but also introduces significant privacy and security challenges. On the privacy side, AI models require vast amounts of data. As we just asked Dr. Rebai about what happened in the FIFA side, could you be sharing about those? And he had a great answer that a lot of things were done in collaboration with defense and National Committee and Supreme Committee, and this stuff is just out of the reach. Now he knows as a human that this is the stuff that cannot be shared. Hackers don't, or like even the leaks or the data leaks, they do not. The machine doesn't know which data can be shared and which cannot be. We have to tell the machine exactly what data has to be put in a separate place. So that's why we talk about the federated learning as well, because we want to train large data sets in separate simultaneous streams, so that even if there is a breach in one of those streams, not the full information is given out or anything, that nothing gets out. And it has got to such a better place that we are not scared of it anymore. Now, even I want to put this out that even anonymized data isn't fully safe. Talking about data privacy and security, as inference attacks can expose sensitive information by revealing details from the training set itself. And on the security front, adversarial attacks are a major concern, where small altercations to input data can trick AI systems into making incorrect predictions. And then there's poisoning, which poses a threat by injecting malicious data during training, degrading the AI model's accuracy as well. Now, all of this stuff can be taken care of if we move with a giant security incubation, such as, for example, when we talk about cloud, like Azure cloud itself, the security features come inbuilt, and we don't have to rethink them or reinvent the wheel. Like once we are in the portal, a lot of things are just automated for you, and we do not actually have to go and make our own way to risk the intellectual property theft, or like even the introduction of hidden malicious or defects or threats. And to address the privacy, we have to adopt certain key strategies like privacy preserving AI techniques, as I mentioned, federated learning, robustness and monitoring, and anomaly detection. So definitely AIs are automatic and artificial intelligence, but it's not going to be working all by itself. There definitely has to be monitoring in place for the anomaly detection techniques, which can help data poisoning in the long term as well. The last one that we're going to be talking about in the challenges slide is data bias. Obviously, the factors like measurement bias, where data collection misinterprets features or labels, sampling bias, where incorrect or unrepresentative data leads to flawed predictions. So the question that we had earlier, I believe the answer to that is coming in from here now, that data can have sampling biases or incorrect or unrepresentative data. Data that you don't need is already here, and what you need is not reachable. The aggregations and the confirmation bias can also skew the outcomes, while the group attribution and temporal bias can cause models to generalize or rely on outdated data. Because archiving data is very important as well when we're actually talking about putting the data for certain use cases. And to reduce the bias, it's very crucial to collect diverse representative data. That's why synthetic augmentation is very important. And early on, like have the policies in place to apply pre-processing techniques like resampling and have fairness checks. There are a lot of fairness aware algorithms that can help minimize discriminatory outcomes. Like there are a lot of fairness metrics. They come in the pre-trained models as well, such as demographic parity or equalized odds. Those are the techniques that could be using to effectively measure the model fairness. Now, moving ahead, we have talked about a lot of challenges and a lot of things that is specifically derived from AI having an impact on data. But let me be clear that the generative AI era does not call for a fundamental shift in data strategy. It calls for an acceleration of the trend towards breaking down silos and opening access to data source wherever they might be in the organization. Now, that's a quote by Jennifer Bellicent. She's a principal data strategist in Snowflake Data, and she made this comment about the data strategy. So it's a little bit of shift in the mindset rather than like a whole new buildup of something very, very new. And this is how we actually examine it as well as to what the approach could be. We start with the assessment and the requirement gathering side, which also have the solutions for finding out the business KPIs. Then we move towards the infrastructure setup. And by infrastructure setup, I mean exactly the provisioning of, for example, the Azure cloud infrastructure, or the deployment landing zone, as we call it, having the tenant and the subscriptions in place, and we know exactly which tool we want to move to. Have a central repository to develop and have the integration so that all the data is in a singular place. Do the data governance, and it's not going to be one-time thing. Once you start data governance, it goes throughout the project and till the last step. So it started right after you have brought the data in a specific place, and that's where you go from it. And then from there, you have the automation and machine learning deployment. And after that, you have the dimensional modeling and the transformation done, because that's where the goal there, the master context comes in, and all the harmonization is done. Then move towards the automation and machine learning deployment. See, we have 5 steps before we can even talk about the AI use case, and we have already identified the AI use case, but we're not doing any implementation on it before we have the golden context in our hand. And afterwards, we can have the dashboards for the decision makers to take a look at whatever the KPIs they have to take a look at and move from there. So given all of this, exactly this is how we build the strategy part of it. Now, moving ahead, we move to the real part as to what the steps are to develop our strategy. Now, identifying compelling use cases starts with questions. Questions are very important, and those questions lead us to a specific roadmap. If you had a better access to, the question could be like, if you had a better access to high quality data, where could you solve problems in your organization? Engage with the stakeholders to uncover data needs across multiple business areas and highlight the value of data as a strategic asset. Look at your entire data landscape. Now, this is very starting point. So you have to start with a macro view of the entire data landscape, which, like when you work with the consultants like ourselves, like consultant firms, we do it for you. This is assessment phase, as we just saw it. And we have this report, maturity report, landscape reports that we are actually talking about on. So what if you could lower the supply chain cost by modernizing outdated apps, or automate risk and compliance using AI for faster insights? Now, these are the questions that we have to ask. By understanding how your data moves or doesn't, that's another thing, between departments like finance, sales, and marketing, you can uncover opportunities to increase profitability or grow your top line and reduce risk. Next, know the tools at your disposal. Now, this comes at a later stage, the tool. We don't start with the tool itself. Partner with IT to leverage both existing and cutting edge technologies. That's what we go by. And by aligning your data strategy with your organization's infrastructure and ongoing initiatives, we are more likely to deliver meaningful results. Next, assess your current state. Now, once your goals are clear in the first stage where you've done the assessment, you've asked around and you've brought everybody at a singular page, and leaders are on boards, it's time to assess your data ecosystem and identify what's working and what's not. One of the biggest barriers is often organizational silos, which have been continuously and quite often have been talking about in this webinar as well, which hinders the data integration and management. Now, 82% of enterprises report are being held back by data silos. And to boost productivity, employees need self-service access to data and AI-powered tools. And it's become very easy with the co-pilot coming in and without being bogged down by the concerns about governance or compliance. So it shouldn't occur to us in the midway while the end user is using the product itself that we forgot to put in the governance or compliance in a certain way. So access to data should never be a blocker. to great outcomes. You know, like when we were talking about one of the reasons we want to have data strategies to have collaboration between the team itself. Now, next, examine your data to understand what you have and what you need. Think of your data topology like a map that is revealing the contours of your information landscape. It helps identify constraints in outdated system. Then finally, prioritize critical data elements for governance, such as sensitive personal information or crucial strike balance between data security and fostering innovation, and ensuring the right people manage and control data governance. So this is very important because you have to govern the governor as well, and especially when AI technologies are involved. The third step is to develop your strategy. Now, is map out data and AI strategy framework. Now, when defining your data's target state, it's essential to outline a clear vision that resonates with everyone, from app engineers, business analysts, HR, sales. Somebody from that department should be sitting in that meeting. As one of the code goes by, like many data environments are outdated and they are struggling to keep up with today's need for real-time decision making. And to support this, data architecture must be modern, integrated, flexible. That's why we see a lot of digital transformation happening in this day, because people are realizing that they need to evolve with digital channels. And this approach also addresses major concerns like data security, which 37% of the businesses highlight as their top challenge. Next, consider how application modernization, automation, and AI can elevate your strategy. For instance, one of the examples that I really like is from the Lufthansa, the airline company from Germany. They work to pilot AI-based services, allowing them to tap into the vast potential of their data, improving both operational efficiency and customer experience. Now, think about the amount of data that an airline company is actually generating. And they exactly want to have a POC to see how they can have AI-based services. But before that, they move with the KPIs to have operational efficiency and customer and increase or better the customer experience. This shows exactly how AI can unlock value hidden in your existing system. And, you know, like sometimes we don't even know how to use it. Moving forward, then we have to establish controls after we're done with that. So to navigate real world scenarios, whether we are updating outdated systems or delegating tasks or applying AI across the business, it's essential to stay focused on the data objectives. Use the insights we have gathered to accelerate business value with AI. Then outline a strong data governance policy. This is crucial for managing the growing volume of data, have the visibility and collaboration as the cornerstone of the whole thing, and standardize the terminology. So we could have glossaries that are built in. You know, there are tools to do that. For example, Purview that Microsoft is offering, where a lot of things can be put in a singular place. Then we identify the data advocates. So good infrastructure without the stewards that are managing that, it's not going to be of big use. So data advocates has to come in, the champions who are taking initiatives and, you know, like empower those advocates to drive AI and data strategies without needing extra approvals. Dr. Ahmed, would you agree with that people should be empowered in one of the in the offices to actually do things with data without having extra approvals? You're on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So, sorry, yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
So from an innovation and research perspective, yes, please go and try to, but we need to really pay attention to, because it's linked to two things, and you have touched them before. So the first one, when your data are not really ready, and you said we need to infuse or we need to add some synthetic data, because I will give you one example. We train our model before the FIFA event was triggered. So right. The model was triggered on a data that it is captured before the event. And during the event, it's completely different. It's completely different data, completely different figures. And the model didn't react the way that we were expecting. So, and he was doing a lot of wrong prediction. This one example. And also when we connect the data between two, and to touch this point as well, and thanks to you, Sam, I really enjoyed when you mentioned about the link between different departments. When you mentioned about the HR, marketing, and financial, so that when we link those data and we take those data from a bronze layer to another, to the golden layer, when we create those model and how those data interact to each other, how the lineage between those data and the interaction, this will give us the right insight that we are looking for. Without this data governance and data lineage between those departments, we cannot create a 3D model or a data model, a cube, we call them cubes, so that we can reach the golden layer, and then we can do the predictive analytics, the Power BI, the machine learning, etc. So this the two points, and I wanted to mention as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your addition. And I agree to your point that yes and no, and you explained it really well. Thank you. Moving on, the fifth would be to create the integrated solutions, which is to set your sprint cycles, collect small wins in the form of MVPs, which means that this is a reminder to your team and yourself that we are able to create cost-effective ways to test new ideas. And this actually assists a lot when the real projects come in and we are about to have investments that can lead to significant improvements. Creating a central catalog to find and share insights, part of the governance, and we want to reiterate it over and over because in this case there is something that like within 90 days there was a customer that had actually mentioned to it that within 90 days we had proof of concept, the results of which had demonstrated that we could improve our coverage by 500% and lower our cost by 80%. So a simple POC, and we do the documentation on top of it, gives us the bigger picture as to what the specific numbers could be when it comes to delivering the success. Then the last one is to scale the team and the processes. It's not just about having technologies and the policies around, but to maximize the impact, we have to communicate results clearly and frequently across the organization. You know, have a strong partnership across all levels of the organization, be open to feedback and collaboration, and ensure your data vision integrates into the company's culture. We have to hire and reskill talent to stay agile, because obviously sometimes what happens is a lot of companies are moving towards the AI use cases, but they're lacking the support from internally from the data scientists. Like there's nobody to guide or tell them exactly where to move to. And the reliance on third parties can actually sometimes be not too good. And having your team up to the mark as to have the semblance as to where things are going should be a part of a strategy itself. Just taking a quick bite at the governance part, ancient saying specific to the question that was asked by the gentleman as well, garbage in and garbage out. What data governance means is cleaner, clearer, and impactful data, and which means better analytics, which means better decisions, which means better business results. And better business results mean better market positioning, mind share in the people's headspace, reputation, and better profit margins. So everybody likes this one, you know, better profit margins. So starting with clean data, you can see the roadmap as it takes you exactly to what we want to achieve. This is what a data governance framework would likely look like, where we have around 4 layers of data management layer. We have the data governance enablers, then we have the stewardship or the core layer, and the strategic layer. So the data governance in itself requires a separate strategy, which is a sub part of the data strategy as a whole. So when it comes to the data governance part, we have to allocate it time separately, where the strategy for the governance and the vision comes in. We have to put in the control and the growth in place, and have the business use cases of the program management set in, which I believe is very strong suit of Dr. Ahmed, as well as he has served as a PMO for several organizations, where the data stewardship, lineage, glossary, or the master data management and the metadata is coming in on the technology side. And the change management and the user adoption comes in as well. So you first have to figure out that we do not have any kind of protest from internal stakeholders to move to that, because this requires a bit of discipline, not just to have the tools and technology, but have the people and culture in place as well. And everything that comes below it, which is the information lifecycle management, is just according to the policies. So once we start developing it across on the analytical front, processing, storage, sharing, and the retention front, everything falls in place. Sometimes it's boilerplate as well. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just see what the big names have already done, what the best practices are, and go about that. Three things I want to mention very quickly are data governance, master data management, and data quality go hand in hand. For that, we have a complete trio in which we have the glossary, catalog, policies, and the golden records, and the profiling and deduplication done in the separate place. So sometimes people have notion that MDM, or the master data management, is not the need of the hour, and we can work without it because we have data marts and we have data warehouses. But that's not how it actually works, because master data management is required giving you the data model that you want to work on, the golden record. So again, as Mr. Ahmed, Dr. Ahmed was actually mentioning that he liked the point where we discussed about different, you know, departments like marketing and talking about finance and HR. All of the data has to be in a golden context, which is MDM. So they can all talk together and we can go further to use that data. Data protection and privacy, again, increasing awareness around data protection and privacy is coming up. It's not just the Europe, it's not just the MENA region, it's literally the entire world that we're talking about. We all know GDPR, and that is something that is right in the place, and we have to start with that as well. Like terms such as data protection and privacy must be default at any kind of company and baked into our data policies. And we're talking about a bigger picture when we come to the AI, because there are some 6 fairness models as well, or points as well, specifically given by Microsoft, and it tells you to use the Copilot in a certain way as well. It depends on what kind of geographical area where we are at, and comply with whatever the ministries or the policies are saying, right? We have a very in-depth webinar on that. We did in collaboration with Microsoft. Mr. Shersha was one of the CSAs who joined us for that, and you can find the link in our current webinar to get a deep dive into what unified data governance for enterprises would look like. Now, the second last part of the whole discussion over here is the approach in the side of the technical side, which is the data fabric. So a data fabric is an architectural approach which is designed to simplify data access and facilitates self-service data consumption for an organization's unique workflows, takes care of all the people who are involved right in there. So end-to-end data fabric capabilities would be there, like including data matching, observability, master data management, data quality, real-time integration, and more, all of which can be implemented without ripping and replacing your current tech stacks. And this is a good news. And whether it is to simplify the day-to-day data producers, or to provide the data engineers or data scientists or business users, we have to choose certain tools, we have to choose certain practices, so that all of it can be done into a singular place seamlessly, so that nobody is working in silos and all the data is talking together. And one of the best things that I very much congratulate and enjoy and am thrilled, and I believe everybody inside in our industry is thrilled about, is the innovation that Microsoft brought us in the shape of Fabric. And it's not something that the fuss is not created out of thin air. This platform right here actually defines the data fabric architectural approach in itself. The reason why Microsoft actually named Fabric is because they wanted to use it as a metaphor for how it integrates various services and tools and platforms into a unified, interconnected systems. And you don't have to change the screen, you don't have to go anywhere. All the data is in a singular unified data foundation. We call it one lake, and you're doing everything on top of it. So don't need to move with the integrations of separate tools, everything in a singular place. Now, Microsoft Fabric combines engineering, data science, real-time analytics, governance using in the shape of Purview, business intelligence, Power BI is obviously in there, to a single cohesive platform. And the name reflects the vision of creating a seamless integrated experience. So there could be a lot of other tools as well to get to this side where we have a certain space where we're doing everything in a singular place, and it's actually combining our strategy together as well and bringing it together. But from our side, Microsoft Fabric is one of the best end-to-end analytics and AI solution builder, and that's what we go with. We have another webinar for that, in which we had a deep dive where we talked about the data analytics redefined, exploring Microsoft Fabric's data magic. There's another link for that. You guys can go and check it out because we discuss Fabric in detail. We also see a demo as to how it's working and how it could be beneficial for your enterprise. Now, lastly, we just want to have a quick recap of what we design. And as Dr. Ahmed and I were discussing, that instead of taking a bottom-up approach, so we start with the tools and what technology we want to use, we want to start from the top, which is to have a top-down alignment. Start with the business strategy, start with business priority, move towards the data governance and collaborations to talk to people, have processes in place, have the policies written out, bring on the culture. Then the level 3 would be to leverage the data for a strategic advantage, which is MDM or data warehousing, business intelligence or data analytics, and the data quality management that the stakeholders and the leaders have already agreed upon in the stage before that, in the governance and collaboration part. So we don't want to go back to that because we do that first. And then there's coordinating and integrating the disparate data sources. Now you bring in the data asset planners, bring out the security notebooks, bring out the integration, write those pipelines, have the metadata management according to the policies and the business KPIs that you've already decided in the first place. At the end, lastly, what you see is the ground level of the binary, which is the databases, big data, unstructured data or semi-structured data, and document and the contact management systems that you have in place. There could be a lot more than that. We've just put in some salient examples. And that's when we come to that place and we start seeing the tables, we start seeing the null checks after we have completed all the 5 levels. Then this, I just wanted to show you real quickly what an example of AI and a data strategy page would look like. And there are a lot of drill downs that could come from it, but on a top level view, this is something what it would look like. And it reminds me every time I talk about planning or strategizing something, I don't know why, but Jeff Bezos is somebody who definitely comes into my mind. As once upon a time, he said that we have to focus on things that don't change. For example, the customer needs or delivering goods fast at low prices. What a beautiful thing to say, because he says when you're strategizing something, you have to focus on things that do not change a lot since the beginning. The customer needs are the same, like for example, delivering goods fast, very fast, and faster from the day before, and then the lower prices. That's why he's, like Jeff Bezos is innovating with drone delivery and trying to like make everything automated, because this is what's in his mind and that's his vision, and that's where the strategy is coming in from. So first and foremost, he had this vision that I'm going to make deliveries fast at the low prices, and then he thinks about how I could be doing that. And then comes the technology part, and then comes the data part as to which parts would he like to go for the POC first, because Amazon is not doing it in the entire world. There are selected spaces where they're doing it, and that's how the vision trickles down. So we see a good strategy in the business domain. We have the mission. This is just an example, like serve our customer through a focus on selection, price, and convenience. Have the vision to be customer centric so our customers can buy quality products at low prices, and then have the main strategies in place, like people strategy, operations strategy, ICT, and then come to the AI and data strategy part, where you have the vision, purpose, goals, tactics, and the benefits at the end of it as well. The most important part is to envision the benefits of them, like enhance-based, evidence-based decisions, or increase the employee satisfaction, or scalability and ease of the use case and security. So this is how it would look like. And we've talked about a lot of stuff which could be looking like this is a lot of work to be done, and navigation could be a little tricky as well. So one of the things that we do is we help you build this up, and alhamdulillah, we had a very good relationship with Dr. Ahmed as well accordingly, and in this regard as well, we have great talks, and he was very happy to see that as well. So what we do is we assist you with building all of this up from ground level all the way to the up. We know the approach, we have the scope, we know exactly what your business would be, and we are very much thrilled and poised toward knowing your business KPIs and converting them into successes. Definitely, if you have any queries regarding that, reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to indulge you. With that, I would like to close today's webinar. We have had a great discussion. I would personally like to thank Dr. Ahmed, and I've got several messages right now. They're thanking you, Dr. Ahmed, for your presence, for adding a credible approach, insight, specifically thrilling experiences that everybody wanted to know about FIFA and how you are actually helping the whole establishment around. And we're very honored to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and really I learn as well from you, Fahad, as usual. So it's nice to hear from you as well, and you have a comprehensive because when I talk about a specific use case, specific industry, but you have an overall global overview about the master data management and data governance. I just, if I may add very quick 2 points, very
Please.
quick to our audience. Very quickly. So this should be, it's a collaborative work. It should be within all together. So all the vendor, the technologist, the stakeholder, the leadership, they're all, we have created in Ajgal, in a center of excellence, where we put everyone involved and he put his hand in the dough so that we can co-create together, because we understand all the challenges in together, hand to hand. Because if we do, the technologists will be, oh, we know what we are doing, and we will tell you what is the results, and then we will face completely another results, and it will fail. Automatically, it will fail. So better to be involved all. So business, try to involve the business, the stakeholders, and also with your vendor, with everyone, so that they will be collaborating and co-creating the right governance and data strategy for your business. Also, my last point. So in my last two experience, we use data fabric as well. So I'm very familiar with the technology. So we use it here and there, so that even with the World Cup, the platform that we have created. So also it's based on Microsoft Azure, and it's a nice. It make it simple, straightforward, and unified. And more importantly, it's unified tool where you can have on the top of it the purview, where you can control also, and you can understand your data better. And and also you can connect with whatever type of data that you have. You can connect to it, and it will help a lot in your even in your POC as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the closing comments, Dr. Ahmed. It was definitely a great ride with you, and we hopefully look forward to having so many more like these. With that, I'll be closing the webinar. Thank you all the viewers, and inshallah we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for having